Think of a time you were so absorbed in something that you lost track of time completely. Maybe it was during a game, while driving, a run, a piece of music you were playing. You weren't thinking about being good at it. You weren't thinking about how you looked, or what you'd do after, or whether you were doing it right. You were just in it. And then, somehow, 2 hours had vanished, and you had no idea where they went. That state has a name. Psychologists call it flow. Athletes call it the zone. And for a long time, people treated it like a kind of magic, something that either happened to you or didn't, with no real explanation in between. It's not magic. It's a very specific, very measurable thing your brain does. And once you understand what's actually happening up there, you can start getting yourself into that state far more often than luck would ever allow. So today, what flow actually is, what your brain is doing while you're in it, and the part everyone actually wants, how to switch it on. The term flow comes from a psychologist named Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And yes, even people who study him for a living usually just call him Mike to avoid the embarrassment. In the 1970s, he became obsessed with a strange pattern. He kept interviewing artists, musicians, rock climbers, surgeons, chess players, completely different fields, completely different personalities, and they kept describing the exact same experience, almost word for word. A total absorption in the task, a loss of self-consciousness, time either speeding up or vanishing entirely, and a sense that the activity was rewarding in itself, regardless of any prize, paycheck, or applause waiting at the end of it. He called this state flow because so many people independently used the same metaphor to describe it, like being carried along by a current rather than struggling against one. What's interesting isn't just that this feeling exists, it's that it shows up in such wildly different activities, for such wildly different people, under what turns out to be a surprisingly specific, repeatable set of conditions. So what's happening inside your skull while all this is going on? For a while, this was genuinely mysterious, but brain imaging has started to fill in the picture, and the answer is a little surprising. You'd think a state of peak performance would involve your brain working harder, lighting up more. Instead, flow appears to involve parts of your brain, specifically regions in the prefrontal cortex responsible for self-monitoring, self-criticism, and that constant inner narrator voice, temporarily quieting down. Researchers call this transient hypofrontality, which is a complicated way of saying the part of your brain that worries about how you're doing briefly clocks out, so the part of your brain that's actually doing the thing can work uninterrupted. That's also why flow comes with such a strong loss of self-consciousness. The voice that normally narrates your life, am I doing this right? What does that person think of me? Should I be doing something else right now? Goes quiet, not because you're suppressing it through effort, but because the brain regions producing it are, for a moment, simply less active. At the same time, your brain shifts its chemical cocktail. Dopamine rises, sharpening focus and reinforcing the activity as rewarding in itself. Norepinephrine increases alertness. And there's some evidence that the brain briefly favors slower brainwave patterns associated with daydreaming and creative connections, rather than the faster, more rigid patterns associated with deliberate, effortful thinking. Put it all together, and you get a brain that's intensely focused, but not effortfully focused. Working hard, but not feeling like work. That combination, high performance with low subjective effort, is really the whole definition of flow, translated from psychology into neuroscience. The leading idea is that flow is evolution's way of getting you to practice skills that genuinely mattered for survival: tracking an animal, crafting a tool, reading a social situation, navigating unfamiliar terrain. All required sustained, focused effort over long stretches of time, with no immediate payoff at the end of each individual minute. In other words, Flow may be less about the task you're doing and more about your brain's way of rewarding you for getting better at things that take real time to get better at. It's a built-in incentive system for skill building, running quietly underneath whatever you happen to be doing it through today, whether that's hunting, painting, or absolutely nailing a difficult level in a video game at 1 a.m. on a work night. So, the part you've been waiting for. If flow depends on specific conditions rather than luck, what are they exactly? Across decades of research, a few conditions show up again and again as the real levers. First, clear goals. Your brain needs to know, moment to moment, what succeeding right now actually looks like. Vague tasks, write something good, get better at the guitar, give your brain nothing concrete to lock onto. Specific micro goals do. Second, immediate feedback. Flow thrives when you can tell instantly whether what you just did worked. A musician hears the wrong note the moment they play it. A climber feels the grip slip the instant it happens. Third, the challenge skill balance from earlier. Difficulty calibrated just slightly above your current ability, not wildly above or comfortably below it. And fourth, minimal interruption. Flow takes time to build, often a stretch of 10 to 20 uninterrupted minutes just to get into it, and it collapses almost instantly the moment you're pulled out by a notification, a question, a glance at your phone. This is probably the single biggest flow killer in modern life. Put those 4 conditions together, and you get something close to an actual recipe. None of this guarantees flow will show up on command every single time. It's a state, not a switch. But these conditions are the closest thing science has found to actually tilting the odds, deliberately, instead of waiting for it to happen to you. There's something quietly reassuring in all of this. Flow isn't a rare gift handed to a lucky few. It's a mechanism built into a normal human brain, available to basically anyone under the right conditions. You don't need to become a different person to feel it. You just need a task with the right amount of difficulty, a clear target, fast feedback, and enough uninterrupted time to let your brain quiet the part of itself that won't stop narrating. Do that, and somewhere in the middle of it, the noise drops away, and you disappear for a little while into whatever you're doing.